I think I've personally sold like $2 million worth of PR in the past like 13 months now, a year and a bit. Wow. That one summer we heard that word drop shipping. Very first wireless earbuds on Kickstarter. And then as soon as we saw them there, I was like, those are coming out worldwide very soon. As soon as we plugged them in and they worked, we're like, we made $1 million. A couple of YouTube videos eventually, just for fun. I made my own little page, some conspiracy videos. You're born into this world, it's literally a game. Some people realize it, some people don't. So all I ask people to do is question where you are. And then, so obvious once you see it, you can't unsee it. There is something so big at play here. Why is everybody lying? Like, why are all these idiots lying about this? Why are so many people believing this? It's clearly a lie.
If you want to find all the answers to everything we have, you're never going to find those.
Absolutely. But that's the thing though, the big thing, the research has to be done with the eyes.
Sure.
You have to look. Does that make sense?
Not at all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Super Price Podcast, aka the #1 podcast in Winnipeg, where we document the rise and stardom of Winnipeg's talent and personalities. We have an interesting guest for you today. You know, as you can see, I'm suited up. Our guest is also very suited. This man is the person behind the scenes. So if you have an idea and you want to make something happen, this is the guy to go to. He's been responsible for making many companies and many more probably in the future as well. But please welcome Aaron Badescu. Did I get it right?
Yes,
sir.
Good. Thank you.
Hello, Aaron. Thank you for the studio crowd. I appreciate it. Like I was saying, you're the man behind the scenes. You've worked with many companies in the past, and when people have an idea, we talked with Luke Lins from HighKey, and we talked with Michael Okoye, and they always have the vision of, this is what I want to make. Mm-hmm. Where do you come into the picture, Aaron?
Yeah. So with HighKey and RentYourRide, there's obviously two different stories there. Mm-hmm. With HighKey, it was I was there like around the start of it, right in 2016. I'm sure Luke told you how the company all started, obviously, so I don't need to go into that too much. But yeah, it's been great, like working with both companies and helping strategize and execute on different marketing missions. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's kind of where I come into play, usually on the marketing and sales side with the companies, in terms of, you know, getting more eyeballs, also mastering like first impression, getting more eyeballs, and then obviously selling and getting your offer to the either business or consumer.
Mm-hmm. Where does this journey start for you, Aaron? Because, you know, you mentioned you were a teacher, and then before we were talking, and you built your way to where you are now. Where does this journey start? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would clarify, like, I was never officially a teacher. I got an education degree.
Okay.
So I never actually officially worked as a teacher. Yeah. HighKey was started in that time. So instead of working one day as a teacher, I was like, let's just work on the business, of course. Okay. But I would say, obviously, the journey starts when you're come into the realm, mm-hmm. and you're born here, obviously. And it's up to you to figure out, one, like where you are, because most people come in here and think they're in a certain place, mm-hmm. because their teachers told them so, and we'll get into that. Yeah. And then two, like, how are you going to obviously contribute? How are you going to solve problems and be a like contribution to society and the people around you? And I think along that path, you kind of choose one side or the other, in my opinion, whether you know it or not, whether you're on like the good side, really, because it's kind of a dual reality, whether you're on the good side or the bad side. And you kind of make those decisions every single day. And yeah, I guess in terms of like my entrepreneurial path, if you could call it that, mm-hmm. It started honestly like probably in high school, when I first realized that the education system was fully broken. There was controlled demolition involved in 9/11. I'm serious. Okay. And that there's much more to life that's not being taught in school. And once I realized that, I knew that I had to seek and find a path or something that is outside of the education system. Now, I did go and get 2 degrees. Yeah. So I got like a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Education degree. Yeah. So I did explore that route, but afterwards, instead of really working for an employer, etc., we decided to like take a risk. Myself, Luke, Jordan, and Jackson was very young at the time, but he was still part of the company. Yeah. And film a lot of content, obviously, and get our like wireless earbuds out there. And then that's where the first big leap actually officially happened. But I would say like when I was in university as well, I created multiple like different websites, like mock businesses even, just for fun. But it's funny because I really didn't have a strong guidance or mentor. Yeah. So going through high school and then going through even university, I didn't meet anybody that was or could teach you about and this is my fault of my own to not find that person, right? But it's kind of like, wow, we go through so much school and you don't meet someone that can give you the most resources. Those resources are learning about law, tax, business, corporations, financial literacy. All those things aren't taught from grade 1 to 12 at all, unless in maybe some special courses in high school that are like optional, right? And so that fact really should awaken everyone to the sense that like there's much more out there than just what the box that like school will put you in.
Did you always know you wanted to do something business related?
I always knew that I wanted to be very wealthy, and in the sense of multiple factors like health, right, financially, spiritually. But yeah, I always knew I was going to be like something greater than just norm and like normal. Like when I was sitting in high school, I was sitting there looking at them, thinking about how much money they make, and that was kind of a joke. Yeah. And now they were telling me what to do with my life and trying to like guide me and say, like, telling me what to learn. And obviously they're just following a curriculum. No fault at these teachers or anything like that. But in my opinion, and I'm very passionate about it because like I have the education degree, is that the education system is complete. It doesn't cater at all to any entrepreneurial spirit. It's actually completely against it. It's actually the complete opposite. And so those people in there that are in charge of being in front of kids day after day who make $60,000 to $100,000 a year are the ones that are creating the brains of our future, when it should be the people that have achieved success, the Zuckerbergs, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos. Those people actually like maybe creating like a little school and with completely different sets of rules. I'm talking about like no bells and whistles, etc. The kids sign up for what they want, learn what they want, and it's all just you're executing stuff. Those should be the people in charge of like teaching the future, not people that never left school. That's where a teacher is. No, my apologies to all the teachers. One more thing. Teachers never left school. They went to school, high school, like middle school, high school, university, back into a school. Yep. They never left that bubble. And so there's a negative feedback loop occurring right now. But it's almost like that's how the world has to be, because that's like a theory. But
no, I understand. And I agree. I agree completely in the sense that school is probably the oldest thing that has never changed. From the times when, years and years ago, you're put in rows, you're forced to do your work, and you come to school, you go home. It's training the workforce, for the real world. Whereas the creative entrepreneurship and that side of the thing is maybe not as emphasized in schools as it should be, right?
Exactly. And see, even if someone like yourself or myself was in and we became teachers and went inside of that school system,
be completely different.
We couldn't do anything because there's so many rules on what you have to teach. You have to teach 50% of the curriculum. Of course. You have to do all these things. You have to do all these things, and you're so micromanaged and controlled that you cannot even fully. Like, I got in trouble at Oak Park High School. I got in trouble because like I would just be working on my laptop like in a class. And then like all the students would gather around and like ask me questions about business. And I would literally just tell them. I would sit in there, and then it almost became like a little like classroom where like kids were coming at lunchtime to just learn from me. And it was like unofficial because like I didn't ask for it to happen or anything, right? And the kids were just coming to me because they saw like, hey, they saw me on Instagram. So when I was teaching, like, or student teaching, sorry, there were people coming up to me in the hallways saying like, I just saw your video on like the Explore page, and it would have like 500,000 views, right? And so like they're obviously super impressed by that, because like none of their teachers are even on social media. They have to like, they're hiding on it from their students, and there's that whole mismatch. And it's just awful. I could talk about that stuff all day. But that stuff needs to change. People need to start more private like education systems, like what Andrew Tate's doing, I think, is like in terms of the university and teaching kids financial literacy, the real world. And which HighKey University is going to have its own thing soon. A little plug there. But yeah, I think that's fantastic. Like, that needs to happen more.
No, I get it. The school system needs to change. Going back to what you said in terms of when you were in school, you knew you wanted to be rich, right? You knew you wanted to make money.
Where does that wealthy, come from?
You wanted to be wealthy, right? Of course. You wanted to be able to provide. Where did that sense of come from? Like,
I'm not gonna lie, it came from an industry that is also at the same time negative. So the music industry, for sure, influence, and also athletics. So I played soccer growing up, like my whole life. Like, I didn't do any of the stuff a lot of other kids got to do growing up because like I was playing like very like serious soccer my whole life. My dad was a pro soccer coach in Romania at the time, and yeah, I made it up to semi-pro in soccer right beforehand. So that, like seeing the soccer stars, the life they were living, obviously above like above average, and then also the music industry, like the rappers at the time, right? Those guys were always flaunting like their materialistic items, and obviously, if you see that as a young man in this world, like you're gonna want those types of things. And so then it became a way of reverse engineering. Okay, like how do you achieve that? Like, and then that just like opens up financial literacy, and that whole game. It's a game. You're born into this world. It's literally a game. Some people realize it, some people don't. Like Monopoly in a way, right? And you got to play it. You're kind of forced to play it. So
no, it's interesting that you say the world is a game, because I resonate with that as a lot, right? You are built with certain skills that you have, maybe a certain mindset, and as you progress the levels, as you increase your skill set or your knowledge, you're able to unlock more opportunities. You're able to unlock the next level. What were some of the levels for you in terms of unlocking?
yeah, so
Especially when it comes to mindset, when it comes to business, the world of that. What are some levels?
that's a great question. It's funny because everyone goes through those things differently, and it's not unfortunate, but it's just the way of the world that some people go through that faster than others. And then that means somebody is younger achieving success, right? Which everybody wants. Nobody wants to achieve that grand success of being fully financially free and like, really free in the world because of that when they're 80. Like everyone, like it's kind of, nobody wants that. Everyone's going to say, yeah, we want it earlier, right? And so some people get it much earlier than others, right? In the world. And like, honestly, like that's amazing. It's usually because they're actually very well deserving, right? That's often how I found. That means like they actually achieved those levels. They did faster. And so for me, I think there's a big period of time when I was in university, like 6 years, where it had to happen like that, because like I met Jordan in university, which sparked, which sparked that. And like, that's how HighKey ends up being born. So there's the connection aspect, but still, like, I feel like those 6 years I could have been, if I had the right mentor and I wasn't studying science, which like I learned biopsychology. I honestly took away probably like 7 pieces of information, like literally 7 specific little things that you have to memorize that actually help me now, right? From all 6 years of university. Like science school is obviously for becoming a doctor, dentist, etc. And so for me, those like levels were one, like understanding brand and corporations. Right? So when you're born, your birth certificate, last name is in caps locks. And when you go in the legal system, everything's in caps. And that's because you're actually like you're technically a corporation when you're born. And so the first level you have to realize that. And then you have to realize, like, obviously the financial system you're in, where does the money even come from? You have to learn all these little things. That started happening for me in high school just because of like I said, I'm not even kidding. 9/11 and like the moon landing being completely BS, those types of little things opened up my mind to realizing, hey, like this is kind of like a joke. There's something like you have to figure this out. Where does the money come from? Then that led me down to like Federal Reserve, and and any young man and woman going down that path will end up figuring that out. It's not hard to anymore. But you have to realize those things, and then you have to realize, okay, you need to usually set up third entities, right? And that's why the very wealthy people obviously have trusts and different corporations, and sometimes you can't connect them to each other. And they do that to protect themselves, right? The very wealthy don't really even own anything. They just control them, right? And it's under assets or corporations, legal entities, not their personal, like first and last name, right? And so it was really that was probably like first year university when I realized, hey, like got to create a third entity here. Got to create some sort of brand. And like that's when I flirted with just different websites and learning about web design and just the basics of computers. Like I was always into computers as a kid, but I was never like the next level guys. Like I still don't know coding too well. I know the basics and understand the language models, but I can't code myself, right? But I can use no-code websites, for instance, and stuff, or find someone that needs to do that. But
of course.
But yeah, I would say it's really, you have to like become awake in the world. You have to like to be able to achieve things. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be able to communicate. There's so many of these little things that you have to do. It would be difficult for me to, I guess, outline all of them right now.
Yeah, no, of course. What was the life like when you were in, I guess, end of high school and then going into university? Like, what was the conscious decision to go into university? If you knew you wanted to do business the entire life?
So I didn't know about the business my entire life. I was more like, I knew I wanted to be very wealthy.
You want to, okay.
Right? And so when I first graduated, okay, keep in mind, I graduated high school when I was 16. So I skipped a grade when I was younger.
Okay.
My parents had put me in Kumon. I don't know if you know what that is.
I'm aware.
But it wasn't because I was struggling. I was like the same as everyone else at the start. And then because I was in Kumon, I went so far ahead. I'm not even kidding. And by grade 3, I was doing grade 10 and 11 algebra math. Like that stuff you do with the X, Y, the kids that were struggling with that in grade, boggles my mind. But I was literally doing that stuff in grade 2. So I would come into the class in grade 2 as a little kid, and I'd be done all the sheets where the other kids would need the whole class or like 15 minutes. I'll be doing it in like 2 minutes and in my head, right? As a kid. By grade 7, grade 8, the school system failed me so much because I was so advanced. They didn't know what to do with me. They skipped me a grade. My dad kind of wanted me to skip a grade. Okay. And like, so there was that. They kind of actually advised, no, he shouldn't because it changes peer dynamics. He's born in December. So I'm born in December and I skipped a grade. So I was like 2 years younger than everyone in my class, always, all throughout school, right? Yeah. And in high school, that affected me a little bit in terms of like psychologically, like it wasn't the same. Obviously, everyone was a little bit bigger than me and stuff. But I was still very tall, actually. I was tall but skinny. And so I graduated high school at 16, going into university, and I did a French degree. I was a French immersion my whole like grade 1 to 12. Yeah. And so going into English science, when you just learned it in French, and like you barely learned it, like high school, I just got by. Like I was smart enough, and this is funny. Procrastinators, people procrastinate a lot of the time, especially students, because the schoolwork is so boring to them that actually leaving it to the very last minute and finding out a way to do it is the most exciting part. And so that was me, and I didn't realize that till now. Always left to the last minute. How can I do it? Figure it out. Talk to this person, copy their work, boom, in 90%. Next one, 70%. Then on the exams, I would always get 70% because I actually didn't know what, like realize, like learn a lot of it. But I could, that was the thing. It's very easy to learn that stuff. You just have to sit down and do it. And so because of that, I went into science. First year university, didn't do that well. First year university, like biochem at 16 years old, where I was like still thinking more about soccer, and I'm like, I just kind of wanted to be a doctor. So that was my thing. I wanted to become like some sort of surgeon or something to make a lot of money. Okay. But that didn't even line up with my values of like freedom and being your own, like doing things on your own time and stuff, and being able to do what you want whenever you want, really, because that's kind of what I wanted at the end of the day. Sure. And then, so I didn't even, the first 2 years, I didn't do that well. My big thing was my parents obviously guiding me. And I knew like, that was kind of the thing back then. The smarter kids and the kids that were going to do something kind of went to university after, right? Yeah, right? Now, I think like, attributed to all these like influencers and people online and social media, really, people's eyes are being opened up more and more, like I said, becoming aware and awake to the fact that there's so many other options out there. You don't have to go to university. You don't have to do this, just get a job. There's so many different ways you can go about life. So now I think people are kind of waking up to that. But back like when I graduated in 2010, it was kind of like that was the move, really.
Just everyone kind of did it, and it made sense. I was in the similar boat, right? Yep. Graduated high school, did sciences my entire life, went into science as well. Like that was that was kind of the background, in the sense that all my peers did it, and it just kind of made sense. I considered myself a decently smart person. Yeah. Got to university, chemistry is not the best in the world, but hey, you live, you learn, and you go through that. And I think it opens your perspective as well to the world that you hoped. Sometimes you think as a doctor, like, oh, they make so much money, but yeah, they work their entire lives. Exactly. And like, they're almost in the same loop as many other people as well.
Just a little bit better.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Nicer of a loop.
Right. So there's definitely pros and cons in terms of all that side. And you said that in university you started dabbling into websites.
Like website design, like honestly creating my own like websites for businesses. Now, my very first one was it was funny because I don't want to get into it too much, but create a website called winnipegdatingcoach.com. I'm not even kidding. I wasn't a dating coach, but like every guy thinks they know what
you got rid.
Like now that's the term. That's the term. I see that one a lot now. So So I created that website. Funny enough, it was a mock website, so it looked perfect. It looked like legit. I think I did it on GoDaddy at the time. I physically remember being in the new science building at University of Winnipeg, sitting there in the cubicle. So when everyone is studying for an exam, I'm literally making a website. Like that's how I knew. That's when at that point I knew I'm like, okay, I'm not like doing something with this like degree, like actually, right? And actually, funny enough, the education degree, like I really didn't want to do it. But it was a big thing for my dad. So, but my parents are together, and like I had a pretty strong household in terms of like Like my dad was very strict on me, making sure like I wasn't getting into trouble. I still got into my trouble still, even with him there, right? So he was like really big on like, just get something so you have like a backup plan. Cause he's like, your science degree doesn't guarantee you anything right now, right? And like, I know a lot of people succeed because they don't even have the plan B. And that technically was a plan B, but for me, I was like, I'm never doing that. I will never work a day as a teacher, because I told myself that. Like that is, I'll always be like, I don't know, I told myself that. So, but I did satisfy my dad, really. Funny enough.
Was he satisfied?
He was. After that, and then HighKeys, like we were doing HighKeys, he's like, I'm so happy you did that. That's great. Now go do whatever you want, right? He's like, take off. Try whatever you want. Fail, fail, fail. Yeah. He's like, if you fail everything, no matter what, and when you're 40, you can go be a teacher. That's what. So I was like, hey, I agree. That's kind of cool. It makes sense. But
so then, did you somewhat have like a chip on your shoulder in the sense that, okay, yes, my dad wants me to do this, but I'm going to show him that I can do it in this way?
Of course, man. Because even HighKey, when we first started, Brett, like the first 6 months, like you don't know what's going to happen. We bought like a bunch of earbuds up front, and right away my dad was stressed out. He's right away. He's like, oh my gosh. But then we ended up being successful. We saw the numbers. Then obviously then there was like the big issue. I'm sure you heard of like with the backpacks and stuff.
Yeah.
So then there was that. Then he got a little bit stressed out again, right? And so now he's just like he thinks it's so funny and stuff. Obviously, like that he thought like that. And now he's stress free, which is nice. So
was it hard convincing in the start, like when you really started, when you're student teaching or you're working, and all the time you're spending towards something that you're passionate about, something that you actually believe is gonna work, and convincing him like, yo, dad, like this is gonna work. Like I just need to put this time in.
Yeah, of course. But like I've always kind of been not what is the word, rebellious. Like I have been a little bit. Honestly, my whole life, like me, and like everyone has to self-identify with how they are, who they are, and honestly, you shouldn't try to change too many things about that. You should try to find the positives of it and like utilize it. And so for me, I always had a big issue with authority. Like I hated someone trying to be an authority figure. So like your dad's obviously an authority figure right away in your life, the teachers, like policemen, right? And so if I ever see people abusing that authority, something inside of me gets so outraged. Like if I saw police abuse, like I would go nuts. Like if I saw police abusing somebody else, I'm like abusing their power essentially. And so like because of that, I always had that like confidence to like say something back to my dad, always, right? Like yell at him back. So it would be just a yelling match, and like storm out the house and go work, like whatever, right? Yeah. And I knew what I was gonna do. But no, I love my dad obviously so much, and so he was like a very big part of anything I've achieved now, and I still don't think I've achieved that much. Obviously, I'm only 29 now. I think that there's a lot to life left, and my goals and everyone's goals should be so big they can't really even attain them. So, so there's big way to go still. But
it's the idea that if people don't laugh at your goals, they're not big enough, right?
Exactly.
Because other people will put their limitations of the goals on you. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean that I can't.
Exactly.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
Give me time.
Yeah.
Give me time. It may take a couple of years, but I'll get there.
Exactly.
I'll get there. That's the mindset.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good one. I agree with that for sure.
Okay, so you created the dating site.
Yeah.
Was it successful? Where's it go from there?
Good question.
Where's it go from there?
So funny. I made the site. I put it on Kijiji.
Sell?
No, I just put it on Kijiji like to see if anyone would inquire.
Okay.
And I actually got I think I got like 22 emails. Gotcha. And then from there, I closed 2 people. I'm not even kidding. So I closed 2 people, and they actually had a lot of success. I don't want to talk about too much, but I worked with them for about 2 years. I honestly didn't charge them that much. Like it was really just, I was kind of like, interesting. Could I help this person? Yeah. And yeah, I did help them a lot. I helped them with their confidence, gave them like some tips on style, etc. There honestly, there was a person that was just way too nice. Like they were super nice, kind person, too nice, and so everyone took advantage of them. So that's the thing. I'm not nice. I'm kind. It's a big thing I learned from Stefan Arnio. Rest in peace for him. So yeah, he was way too nice. And I just told him like, man, you gotta. He's like, yeah, all my friends that like are mean or rude. He's like, they all have girlfriends and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, there you go, man. You like don't have to be mean or rude, but like you have to not be too nice, right? So it's kind of funny that the world is like that, right? That the super nice kind people will get, not kind, but the super nice people will get taken advantage of.
What was where was the first time when you made money in not the traditional world?
I guess in high school, obviously. in high school, like when you know flipping something, maybe like soccer shoes or
Okay.
something else. I don't know. Yeah, probably. I never went down that road crazy, but like yeah, like that, something like that, where you're flipping something for another, right? Like buy something for one value, and I didn't go crazy in that, like 'cause I knew some other kids that were doing really good in like the shoe flipping business.
Okay.
But that. It's funny enough, when I was growing up, my dad, like, you know, people think like, oh, you should work at McDonald's, etc. I wanted to work at those jobs so I could have more money. My dad's like, don't. He's like, I'm not letting you work there. If you need money, come to me. And like, it was more like now, okay, I had to ask him. So we'd find out where's my money. So like, he kind of kept controlling me. It was smart by him. But I think that actually helped me because after I had like a taste, and then I actually got like my very, very first job where I got paid was like one soccer camps. That was that. But like, that was kind of whatever. I felt like I was playing soccer and I was just getting paid whatever small amounts for the week. That was when I was 16, 17. But my first official job was I was a research assistant at Fisheries and Oceans Canada at University of Manitoba.
Okay.
And he helped like set that up in terms of like he knew the person that worked there and I got an interview. Like I still had to do the interview myself, right? But he set up the interview essentially. And so that was my first real job and it was really nice. And I appreciate that because like it was different and it was good money. It was more than a McDonald's worker and I was like really in a lab, like learning things, etc. And so because I got to experience that, I think like that set a thing in me, like I will never settle for that. I will never go there again, like no matter what, right? And so like there's that fire in you. And another thing, funny enough, growing up that I think like shaped my mentality the way it is, was my parents, they're like technically middle class. But when I was growing up, because you don't know any better, like I thought we were rich. I thought we were rich because my dad, like he had a nicer car and it wasn't still super nice. It was just an average Mercedes. But I thought Mercedes was like amazing at that time when you're young. And he like would go to like Europe and stuff and like bring back like, he would like really kind of spoil me in a way. And then like buy me nice clothes, etc. that I knew nobody else had. Like I didn't even know what like Armani was, and he brought me an Armani shirt one time, and I wore it to school, and I was like, everyone loved it, and I was like in grade 8 or 9, right? And then so I thought we were kind of very wealthy, and it wasn't until I got older and I like started asking my dad about finances, like grade 11, grade 12, to keep in mind I'm 15, 16 now, right? Asking him, like realizing, okay, like they're just like middle class, like normal. They're not like the rich families I know. And so because of that, I was like, it was like, okay, I'm not going back. Like I'm not gonna. I've experienced that. I've tasted it. Right, and so yeah.
No, I resonate with that story a lot. It's funny how there's some parallels here, but I also did research at the University of Manitoba as well for a summer. Good money again. Better than minimum wage. Better than a lot of the other kids my age. But again, I realized that being in a lab 24/7, maybe just pipetting. Back and forth. I got really good at pipetting, I will say. You know, I put that on the resume. But in terms of what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, it was not a thing. And the years following, it was you know, every year the summer thing would go off. You're in university, you're off for 4 months, and you have that little fire behind you of like, listen, like I know like if I need it's there, but I really don't, like there's something in my body that I just don't want to go back to that, and that pushes you and that feeds you. It's I don't know where I heard this quote, but it's a very good quote in terms of if you put something in front of you, you'll chase it, but the more motivation comes from when you're running away from something. In terms of the fear of not going back to where you don't want to be, right? It's great. You can do the shiny object in front and it will motivate you, of course, right? The private jets, the green Lamborghini, the world of life. But if you're chasing something like, you know, don't want to go to the time when I don't have meals. I don't want to go back to the time where, you know, I don't want to work that job. I don't want to be stuck in a room. I don't want to be stuck in a cubicle.
Scared of that almost,
That's almost even more motivating.
No, it is. Fear is the biggest controller in the entire world.
Let's go back to the growth of Aaron. Where does so you were introduced to the HighKey boys, or you knew them, or how did this relationship build? Because you guys started the companies
2016, 2016. So what happened was, like I was in University of Winnipeg. When did I meet Jordan? Maybe 2014, or so. I was 4 years into my like university already, and then it would have been 4 years. And then I went to the gym there at U of W quite a bit, and then in the change room, like where I always have the same spot for the past 4 years in that change room. And then there's other like super tall guy, like taller than me. And, like I was one of the taller guys at UW. It's like, whoa, what the heck? Taller guy than me. And he looked younger and he was like right at my spot. I was like, oh, sorry, man. And like I was chilling there. I was like, oh, I've never seen you here before, bro. Like, like, what year are you in? And he's like, oh, it's my first year. I'm like, oh, what school did you go to? He's like, Kelvin. I was like, oh, I went to Kelvin. And so because I skipped a grade, I just missed Jordan. But like if I didn't skip a grade, I would have been in grade 12. He would have been in grade 9.
Okay.
So when I graduated first year university, he would have just gone to grade 9.
Gotcha.
And then so I met him at his first year university. This is the funny story. So remember how I said I didn't do well in my first year in university.
Yeah.
So I actually I got a C and B and everything, really, C's and B's. But one class I got a D, first year bio, and it's because it was at 8 a.m. I just didn't go. I didn't even go to the class. First year bio. And when I went to university my first year, it was still, the teachers were writing on the board with chalk. I'm like, I'm not sitting there watching a teacher write on the board with chalk. I don't even know how they did that. Their shoulder must have been gone. And then, so I failed, I got D in first year bio. But then, because I got to actually graduate and get a biopsychology degree, like I need to fix that. So I had to retake that first year, that bio. And so I retook it. And then when I retook it, I found the entire test bank online. Go through all the questions. And then when you do the test, you'll see all that you've seen every single question. So I found it all online. I finished with a 99, my highest grade ever in university, 99.5, 99.50 in that class, A+. And then after that, they asked me to be like the student demo in the lab. So I did that. Became like the student demo in the labs. And then when I met Jordan, I was like, oh, are you in, like, I was like pumped. I still had this test bank. I'm like, I want to help all these students. I was like, oh, are you in first year bio? I was like, yeah. I'm like, bro, give me your email and I'll send you the test bank and you're going to get an A+. And he's like, what? Okay. He's like, I'm like, what's your email? He's like, the color green 2213 at gmail.com. I was like, is that a weed reference, bro? And he's like, no, I made it when I was 8 years old. I just really liked color green. I was like, oh, do you smoke kush though? And he's like, I've tried it, I think. And I was like, okay. And anyways, so since then, like we kind of just, I don't know, we just became homies and stuff. And we like always chilled. So funny enough, like Jordan and I were always chilling. Like we would work out together. But we were always brainstorming ideas. That's all we would do. It's like, that's what I'm saying. We had that entrepreneurial spirit. We were just always brainstorming ideas. Jordan like started a YouTube channel with his brother. And so like I got to see that happening and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I saw Luke editing his videos and stuff. And then that one summer we heard that word drop shipping. And so yeah, Jordan and I were already friends. Like I got to meet Luke, I met Jackson. Funny enough, actually first time I met Luke was like at the, what school is that? On Sherbrooke there. But as a nice turf soccer field. Okay. Gordon Bell. Yeah, they have a nice turf soccer field in Portage. I went there, I was playing soccer, and then like Luke was randomly there, and I thought it was Jordan because they look similar. I was like, is that Jordan? And they got closer, and it was Luke. And I was like, oh, you're Jordan's brother. So like, that was the first time I met him. Luke was probably in grade 10. Yeah. And then, yeah, so I was just like friends with the whole family. Like we became really good friends. I would like go to the cabin like with their dad, or go to Grand Beach, with their dad. We do camping trips and stuff. Yeah. And then yeah, we just kept brainstorming stuff. Jordan was doing a YouTube channel, and I was like, we heard that word drop shipping, and then like that kind of changed everything. We're like, oh, we can create a website and like sell a product, and you don't even need to invest that much in it, right? And so that caused the whole chain of events of like we tried to find a product to sell, and like our first product that we thought of, or a couple of them actually, there was a couple that we thought of first, was like we thought very super niche, like maybe like South Park stuff because we like South Park. So we were thinking like, oh, if we sell like a towel that looks like Towelly, then we run ads on people that like South Park, like they would buy that. Right? Little things like that. We thought very niche specific. And then we're like, we were just on Alibaba scrolling electronics, and then we saw the wireless earbuds, and we're like, okay, that's the future of music. Funny enough, like, because I was a little bit older than the boys, I saw on Kickstarter wireless earbuds maybe like 4 years ago. They were called in-ear or something like that. They were the very first wireless earbuds on Kickstarter. And this was years before AirPods. Yeah. But nobody ended up learning about them, and they never went that viral. They didn't really get out there. And then as soon as we saw them there, I was like, those are coming out worldwide very soon. We knew there was a trend, so we just ran onto it. We were super pumped. Yeah. People are confused how we created these futuristic technology of wireless earbuds, right? Because they didn't understand the whole white labeling and stuff. And so, yeah, it was interesting. And then, yeah, that's kind of how it all started.
What was your role when you started?
Yeah, so, and we all wore so many hats. So, like, Luke was primarily, obviously, at the start, like, mostly video editing. We were filming a lot of the ads. And so, like, a lot of it was, we film every single day at University of Winnipeg. We would just walk right in for free, empty classroom. And yeah, I guess like I guess I started like the Shopify website, I think. did a lot of like some of the basic website design stuff, right? Because I had like the website experience, like I said.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, a lot of the just creative marketing strategies, scripting with Jordan. We did that a lot together. But yeah, there's just so many hats, like finding the fulfillment center, managing the fulfillment. Managing the fulfillment. I did a lot of that. So a lot of the operation stuff.
When the first sale went through, or the first couple of sales went through, what was the feeling in that room of you guys?
Yeah, so the first craziest feeling was actually when we got the first sample.
Okay.
So the first sample, we started screaming, like, we made $1 million. As soon as we plugged them in and they worked, we're like, we made $1 million. That's what we thought, at least. But the feeling in the room for the first sale, I think like the first sale was actually like a friends and family, maybe, like with the cash. So that wasn't that exciting because we knew that would happen. But the most exciting was like a random sale online from someone we didn't know. That's when we were like, okay, it's working, right? It was a very cool feeling.
And then it ramped up from there. You know, you guys had the viral videos that went out as times of the marketing. And would you qualify yourself as the marketer at that time?
No, it was always all three of us, I would say.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like back when you're starting in the startup, you're never really just in one. You're really everything. Now I'm like really heavily in the sales side with HighKey, like taking like our highest level leads and taking those calls. So yeah, I think I've personally sold like $2 million worth of PR in the past like 13 months now, a year and a bit. Wow. So like that was just me individually to like on the phone to other clients where they'll pay like anywhere from 20 upwards to 60, 70K, like on the first call on a phone, right? So that's what we do now. So like really heavily in the sales side with PR, obviously because it's a whole different ballgame than wireless earbuds. But yeah, back then it was all like for sure different hats, but it was always in the marketing, sales, like operations, not the video editing side of things for sure. But I did actually make my own couple of YouTube videos eventually, just for fun. I made my own little page, some conspiracy videos.
Very nice. Well, let's dive into the conspiracy stuff. So, I was looking at your Instagram, you know, very well suited as always and well presented on Instagram, hence HighKey and hence the image that you guys present online. You have a little icon that says HighKey and you have all the accolades that come along with it. You have RentYourRide as well, Michael Coy, who we had on the show. Yeah. Just one in the middle, which is kind of...
Notice that.
It's a little different. It's a little different.
Yeah. You noticed that one. Yeah. So what about it?
I'll let you explain it. Because, for those who don't know, we'll put up a little thing. There's a bunch of Earth, space, Neil deGrasse Tyson's in there, I think. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, I dislike him, so it was kind of trolling him.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'll explain. So there I kind of show a new world model that someone could entertain. And I think that is healthy for the individual because as you are aware, I'll just say it point blank, and you guys can pull this up, and John Zerka did a great skit on this where he's like, pull up the sun. He's like, there's no real photos of the sun, right? and you could pull it up, you could try to type real photos of the Earth. Now, at this point, I want to stress, like, don't go jumping thinking, oh, this guy's a flat earther, oh, this, like, I'm not any of that. Sure. All I try to get people to do and to think about is like one, question where you are. So in a dream, you usually don't know you're in a dream unless you're having a lucid dream. Yeah. When you're in a lucid dream, it means like you're in the dream world and like maybe something, because like let's say the tree is bent weird, and then you're like, wait, maybe what happens is your consciousness literally wakes up in your dream, says, hey, that's odd. That's not what's I'm used to in this other world called like what we call real world. And then you wake up and you're like, hey, I'm in a dream, but then you don't actually physically wake up. So then you can actually do whatever you want in the dream because you're awake in the dream. You're like, I'm in a dream, and you're not like, you don't actually physically wake up. You could literally be like, I want a sword in my hand, and a sword will pop up in your hand. Whatever you think about literally becomes reality in that dream. So a lucid dream. And so the way to elevate your consciousness automatically, literally in this world, is to do the same thing. Question where you are. In the dream, it's where am I? And then you realize you're in a dream. So same thing here. Where are you? And then right away, people's mindset goes to, and then they think about that image I just talked about, the Earth image that they put on the iPhones. That's just a perfect circle. It's a perfect circle. And the reason they make those pictures of the planets, when you look on NASA and the websites, a perfect circle, is because they're going beneath most people's subconscious, and it's because when you look in the sky, you see perfect circles. You see a perfect circle, which is a sun, which is already odd. There's no perfect circles in the environment. Zero. Maybe you find a rock that's It's still, what would be a perfect circle? Eggs aren't a perfect circle. It's oblate, like, right? The perfect circles are usually man-made. And then there's perfect circles in the sky, which are just, to me, all you can deduce from what's in the sky as an individual in this realm without, like, because no one can go to space unless you're an astronaut, but most people, like 99% of the world is not going to space. Those people, and you can't trust everybody else, you have to trust yourself, can't go to space to check. So you have to, all you can deduce from Earth is that there's a perfect circle in the daytime and a perfect circle in the nighttime. What those are, I don't know. Sure. One of them is giving me constant heat. One of them is like an interesting light that goes through these phases. And then you have like the planets, which are like, they called back in the day, wandering stars. Okay. And so all I ask people to do is question where you are. And then don't go and just accept what was taught to you since you were a little kid when you're way too young to discern where you are. They tell you you're on the, like, and I'm just going to tell you what they tell you. And you may think I'm saying it sarcastically because it's actually a joke. That's why. They tell you all this life here is on the top of an oblate spinning rock. But remember, it's an oblate spinning rock, but when you look up the photos, it's a perfect circle mathematically. And then they say that rock is spinning, orbiting the sun, right? That's what we were all taught, the heliocentric model. And I know this stuff very well. I know I said, like, when I'm going through school, etc. I know this stuff very well because I had to reteach it. So a lot of my waking up to the conspiracy stuff in my world, it was forced upon me. I wasn't even really looking for it. And that's how I know there's for sure, like, this realm is not an accident. It's an incredible timeline that likely loops back in on itself. So like the end is the start and the start is the end. And so as technology gets better and better and better, it's very interesting. Something's going to happen. But once you start to realize that the model that was taught you, like, wasn't necessarily the, like, there's more models out there. If you can come to that conclusion and realize that what you were taught wasn't necessarily true, you'll go down this path that every other person that people call flat earthers, and they got stuck. So flat earthers, what happened was they questioned the current model. If you go and look in a high-rise building and you look at the horizon, there's a flat horizon line, right? And that's why people are like, oh, the earth is flat, the earth is flat. But you can't get stuck in like a two-option paradigm of flat or spinning ball. And so they say that the spinning ball is going around the sun, and then they say that sun is orbiting another star cluster. So you have all these movements happening, yet you can't observe any of them. You can't feel any of them. It's something that's imaginary, really. And then when you actually look up at the stars, if you look up at the stars at night with like at the cabin, and you take time-lapse photography, so you just leave the shutter open, and you can see how the stars move. The center star, North Star, Polaris, doesn't move really. It stays right there. And all the other ones rotate around it, literally perfectly, like a watch, perfectly. And so the fact that they got people thinking you're on the top of a spinning rock in an infinite vacuum, zipping around the Milky Way galaxy at all these speeds, when the stars are in the exact same point, like same spots year after year, the pyramids are perfectly aligned to Orion's belt, and all these things are occurring, it just boggles my mind. And then so that's all I put on that there. I put like another Earth model that I actually believe is the closest representation to reality. Okay. And I'll explain it to you as best as I can. Just let me take a sip of this water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this stuff really doesn't matter. It's funny because it doesn't matter. Life is going to go on the same. And I acknowledge that. But the fact that there is a big lie, an agenda to tell every single person that you're on the top of a spinning rock and everything's an accident over billions and billions of years, that is the evil part, really, in my mind, is that we shouldn't be like, who cares? Like, let people figure out where they are for themselves. Yeah. And so the model I've come to conclude that is the truth, based on every observation you can make. And so like I live at the top of my building, 24th floor, I see the sunrise every single day. And like, so I watch and I'm seeing how everything is working every single day from a really good point of view. We 100% live in an enclosed system. So it's a closed system of some sort. You can't have like gas beside a vacuum. It makes no sense with the densities all sticking to the top of a spinning ball. So we live in a closed system because there's constant pressure and there's like all the density layers of gas in the realm. And so when you look up and you see all these beautiful lights and stars, it's what you're looking at is you're not looking into infinity. Like they tell you when you're on the top of a ball looking up, they say you're looking into infinity, right? In the realm, in the model that I've come to believe in, you're actually, when you look up, you're like, just like there's this light here, you're looking at the center of, or the core actually of the organism you're inside. And so when you look up, the stars are sonoluminescence. So sound pass, and you can do this in a lab, sound pass through a fluid will collapse a bubble and create a point of light, and they'll measure the heat of it. These scientists that still believe in the globe, they'll measure the heat of these in the lab, and they'll be like, they'll write the reports, wow, we created a point of light, sonoluminescence, hotter than the sun. And they'll write that and put in a bunch of articles on it. And it's because that's what stars are. Stars are, and they call the sun a star, right? But the stars are sonoluminescence. They get very hot. It's a sound bubble collapsed. And so why there's so many stars is because above you is there's something vibrating constantly, creating this environment. You know, a lot of people think this world might be like in a holographic in a way. You need some sort of shape, or you need some sort of energy source for any form of life. And that energy source is always going to be constantly moving. You know, all particles are never like still, you know, they're always vibrating a little bit. Everything's vibrating a little bit. And so, you know, Nikola Tesla said, think if you're going to, the secrets of the universe are found in like energy, frequency, and sound. And that's because stars are sonoluminescence. The thing above us is actually rotating. So if you've heard the term as above, so below, this will make a lot of sense. As above, so below means as you zoom in, it'll be the exact same theoretically as when you zoom out, like infinitely. If you zoom out infinitely, it's the same as when you zoom in infinitely. Just like there's like a certain type of photography, you could do that. Or videography. That is true with our world, our cells, everything. An egg, okay? So an avocado, you cut it in half. What's at the center? A seed. That's above our heads. That's the celestial sphere. That's why the stars are so beautiful. Because the stars are so beautiful because it's a symptom. It's an expression of the thing powering this beautiful thing we're inside of with all this life. And so that thing is constantly spinning above us, creating day and night. The sun is very close in this model. The sun is very close, and it's not as big as they say, right? So it's close, but it's proportionate to like as if it were super far. And what I mean by that is Einstein said everything works as if everything was super far or super close. The math for the bodies in the sky being super far, it works theoretically. That's why there's so many people that believe in the globe. It works. But if you take everything and you put it on a smaller model and zoom it in, and proportionally, it also works. It's just that everyone tries to dismiss that one. And so the sun is actually very, very close, like a spotlight, and it creates night and day. So if you take your phone light and you put it very close to a table, you could see it doesn't light up the whole table. It lights up this spot. That sun is connected to the celestial sphere in some shape or form. Like I said, you just deduce it's the cutout circle giving you heat. Literally like if you had a terrarium with life, you put a heat lamp on it. That's where we're inside of right now. And so that thing moves over the earth, and then at 12 o'clock in your area, which is it's different all over the world, depending on your time zone, at 12 to 1 p.m., it's hottest because the lamp is over your fucking head. It's literally on your head, over top of you, and the sun is at the top of your, like when you look up, it's at the very top and the highest in the sky because it's actually right over top of you. And then as the sun moves away from you, it gets a little bit colder and the sun goes away and it gets colder as it moves away. But then to your eyes, it's actually moving over your heads, not parallel. The motion is a little bit curved, like it goes up because it's attached to a sphere. So imagine spheres within spheres, worlds within worlds. So you're on the inside of a sphere. So I'll be up front. I think the earth is concave, it's flat out. You're on the inside of a sphere. Above your head is another sphere. And then there's that gap. That's the atmosphere. When you are looking up and you see the stars coming to your horizon on both sides, and this is what I put in my story very clearly there, it looks like the stars are on like the horizon line, but it's actually because light is bending and it's a perfect ball above your head. So you're standing, there's a perfect ball above your head, and the exact refraction of that ball, boom. That's why people think it's flat with a dome if they go down that road. It's not a dome. There is a firmament. It's a glass sphere. And that thing is rotating, and on one side it has the sun. And so as the sun moves away from you, in your perspective, the sun goes like this, downwards. Like it goes like from here, and then it goes up, and then it goes down. And that's how optics works. So that's something I learned in university when I took perception class, was how you see the world from your eyes. and how everything converges down to your horizon line, etc. And so the sun is just very clearly going from the horizon, angled up, boom, over your head. Now it's hottest, and then it moves away and it goes somewhere else over the earth. And it's so obvious once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so for me, this is like awoken my entire conscience and mind to like, there is something so big at play here. Why is everybody lying? Like, why are all these idiots lying about this? Why are so many people believing this? It's clearly a lie. Like, let's call it the elephant in the room. And Elon has mentioned concave Earth on tweets. Elon Musk knows for sure, but he signed a deal with SpaceX. SpaceX was going bankrupt as hell. He literally took a massive bailout by NASA for billions of dollars. So when you take a bailout, you have to abide by certain rules. Elon is keeping the space lie. He knows it for sure. The Tesla and the space thing was the massive troll where he's like, oh, it's so real. It looked fake. You know what I'm talking about? When he put the Tesla in space, he literally said it looked fake because it was. And he's trolling everybody. And yeah, so we're in a closed system. The Earth isn't a spinning ball, like for sure. It's nobody landed on the moon. And me believing that shouldn't upset anybody at all. It doesn't harm anything. I'm not going to be a bad person because I believe that. If anything, I'll be a better person. And I think other people waking up to this, it's not bad. It's not bad for society. All it changes is the fact that, again, the education system is whack, and people need to really reevaluate like where they are and why they're here and who they are. Everybody should be asking those questions. And if you aren't, you're asleep. You're an NPC.
Where does this come from? Like, in the sense of, have you done research on that? Like, in terms of the research that you have done, where is that research gained from?
Absolutely. So it's really your own observations, for one, your own tests. So you have to you can't just rely on other people's things. When I was younger, just looking up in the sky, I always tried to, I believed in this model fully. I believed in this model fully till I was like 17, 18. And then I slowly started realizing there's no curvature. So when you're talking about research, it's not about astrophysicists looking at the sky and doing math. That's bullshit. Because it's shit on top of shit. It's literally, if you have one model, you're going to construct everything on top of that to fit. You have to go down to the base. And the base is what is happening when you look and when you're seeing and when you go up, when you go higher. Because that's the technology we have right now. The technology went like this. We didn't have rockets until around World War I, World War II. The country that was the best, that had the best technology for that was Germany. Okay, so Germany had all these rocket scientists. Werner von Braun was their biggest rocket scientist. After World War II, all the Nazi scientists didn't get killed. They got brought in to all these different countries, the Operation Paperclip. So what I'm talking about here is just factual evidence. It's a timeline, right? And so that's what I mean by research. It's just a timeline I'm seeing and then making observations on. So up until then, you couldn't even go high enough to check where you are. So any models people had based on the math, it was just theories. It's like, hey, we're writing down, we think we know where we are. Let's look at the map. And that's where you have the whole heliocentric model, Copernicus, all that stuff happening in the past. And they keep that stuff in the textbooks, very key Masonic figures. Funny enough, I became a Freemason myself June 4th. So I'm going down that path and ended up learning a lot of this knowledge. So when you actually study what happens when you go up and when you're looking, like what's supposed to happen if we live on the top of a spinning ball is like there's supposed to be downwards curvature. And if you see the models, you go on Google Earth, you see how fast it turns into a ball. That doesn't happen in real life. And so you'll hear this is a reoccurring topic amongst all these people. There's the same questions that always get asked. And a lot of people don't even go down that realm because your mind, your psyche, a lot of people's psyche can't handle it. For their entire belief system to be shattered and realize that the earth isn't what they were taught and they were taught it's one way. They won't even go there, and that's completely fine. Those people don't need to. But if you genuinely are curious with an open mind and want to go down this, no matter what you believe, you're going to question, where's the downwards curvature? What is the curvature supposed to be? It's supposed to be 8 inches per mile squared if there's actually a true curvature on the earth. That can't be seen anywhere. A plane 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet, you will never see that curvature. What happens is when you go infinitely high, there's only specific footage that doesn't use the dog eye, whatever, the fisheye lens. That usually it's like just private people putting their balloon cameras up there. You'll see the horizon ends up actually, it looks like the light goes like this. It goes both ways. The curvature will go up and then it'll go down. It'll go both ways depending on how the camera is. And that's because we're living inside of a closed system with light. And so like, that's what I mean. If you actually want to test this out, you have to check like for curvature, 8 inches per mile squared going downwards. Try to prove that to yourself. There's the whole issue with boats on the water being seen when they should not be seen by the curvature of the earth. The boats are supposed to be way too far on the other side of the curvature. And they're being seen perfectly in view with like just a magnification, like a telescope. And so that couldn't happen on a curved ball. It could happen on a flat plane, and it could also happen on a concave. And also the whole idea of there's so many things I can go off of, but the research has to be the curvature and then also physically going up there. And not many people have the technology to do that. So you have to go off what you can observe and what you can see. Does that make sense?
Not at all.
That's all right.
Not at all.
I don't expect it to. Here, I can tell. Your belief system, and that's completely okay. It's probably like based on what we've been taught, as what most people are taught. What would be your biggest question to me?
I don't know if my belief system is what we've been taught. I think what we have. I think life is very rare. Okay. The fact that we are sitting here on a spinning rock, or supposed to be spinning rock, I don't think it's something that can be comprehended. It's very difficult to comprehend in terms of what we are. Now, if you want to find all the answers to everything we have, you're never going to find those.
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
Absolutely.
Right? But does it give a good outlet to go and explore and go and question the world around you? Yes. Of course. Of course. Do I know there's a spinning rock? No, I'm not qualified nor educated to even speak on the world. Have I seen pictures of a world being round? Sure. Yes. Of course. But is that what it is? No. Until I personally maybe go up into space and maybe actually go see it, I can't fully say what is true and what is not. Right? I can form an opinion on it. That's of course. That's something I can have. I can have beliefs towards it. But actually having the knowledge of something that's outside of my boat. I like to speak in things that I am educated on, or I try to be. And if I'm not, I'll do the research. Right. For sure. What you're saying is something that I've never heard before. Right. Right. It's curious, and it's cool to see your point of view, because it's interesting, and I think that's what really kind of builds all of our things, in the sense that having those conversations is what the world may be missing. For sure. Right. For sure. Having different people just actually having a genuine conversation about what we do is for sure probably what this world needs, right? Being, no matter how far, even you can take this politically as well, because you know, if yes, there's two lefts and right, yes, there's middle, yes, whatever, red pill, blue pill, purple pill, whatever you want to be, right? But the ability to sit in a room and have a conversation about it and understand the other person's point of view is probably more beneficial than just yelling your things at the other person. For sure. Right? For sure.
Oh, I wasn't yelling at you.
No, I'm not coming at you. I'm coming at the world. No, for the world in general,
right? Of course. Yeah, never impose your beliefs too. Like, yeah, I think that's super incorrect. I will say, like, the mainstream astronomy. So astronomy, like, that's all this is like studying, like, really where you are. There's mainstream astronomy, which is just like what's in the books and what everyone's taught as a very young age. And that's why I encourage, like, everyone should be studying that on their own. Everyone should be, in a way, like, actually going back and just revisiting what was taught to them as kids, and then going to it with an open mind. That's all. I think that would be, it's very healthy for the consciousness to experience that. Yeah.
No, I mean, me and Deva's our director. We were having a conversation last week about the similar sense, because it's very fun and enjoyable to be curious about the world, right? I'm a type of person that will walk into a place and I would just generally be curious, right? and hence the podcast, right? I get to talk and meet with individuals from all realms of world. Like, you're from business, you're from the marketing world, the PR world. But last week we had someone who was an artist who paints murals for a living, right? Like Chad's a basketball player, right? Just different worlds. And my ability to just be curious about that world for sure is something that I pride myself on, and having to acquire that knowledge. Will I know the answers? No. Do you know? Do I know? Does anybody know the answers? No. Who knows, right? But that curiosity is something that you can garnish. You can make towards your thing. Even speaking business wise too. Like many times I'll go in a coffee shop and a lot of people are thinking, oh, like what kind of coffee I'm gonna get? I'm gonna get an espresso latte. It's whatever. It's fall time. I'm gonna get a pumpkin spice, whatever. But I will walk in and I'll be like, okay, there's pumpkin spice, but why is that? Okay, it's fall, so they're marketing towards fall. Okay, how many people walked into this coffee shop in the last hour? What's the average coffee size? Like that's just something that I will do generously just because I'm curious about the world. Even sitting here looking at yourself, right? Like just looking at the world and the way I try to look at it in an open point of view and just trying to analyze, right? Well, I know the answer is no.
For sure.
But I definitely do try to look in that. And so I the opinion's strong and I commend you on sharing.
No, absolutely.
I'd have to do more research on it.
No. But that's the thing, though. The big thing, the research has to be done with the eyes.
Sure.
You have to look. You can't use your phone because you go ahead, type in picture, like photos. Like I said, photos of the planets, photos are they're composite images, right?
Yeah.
And so
they're created by other people.
They're CGI, yeah, but they say they're composite images. Like they say they take a bunch of pieces and create them together. 100%. They're CGI. They're perfect circles. Okay. And so that's what I mean. You have to either use telescopes, look out yourself, look at how the star. And I'm saying you, brother.
No,
I mean, the audience. If somebody wants to go down this route, is to look and use your eyes and telescopes and any magnifications you can to observe, and don't necessarily just go for the textbooks and the black mirror on the phone and pictures and stuff like that. You won't find I guess the in my opinion the most truthful material there. You gotta trust. I think you can trust your eyes for a lot of things and your own senses.
Do you think that some of the information, just maybe in this world in general, but maybe relating to the topic, is embellished in the sense that certain things are highlighted than other things? To maybe prove a point?
In what context? Like in what fields?
Well,
like an education system or where? Like
so
pop culture?
I'm thinking maybe flat Earth is probably the one that, because I've dived down the YouTube rabbit hole. Again, is that the most accurate? No, but there's a group of people who, to prove that flat Earth is a thing, or it might be, I don't know, but only certain pieces of evidence will be picked, right? Like there's a lot of observations you can make with your eye, but maybe, actually here's a better way of phrasing this. You're a science guy as well. There's a part in our brain where if you're not consciously thinking about it, you won't see it. For example, right? If you drive down, how many times you drive down, like on the way here, if you don't consciously, okay, I'm looking for red cars, you'll drive past millions and millions of red cars. Or maybe not millions, but you get the idea.
I understand.
And sometimes, if you're only focusing on one thing, are you excluding other information that might be there? That's my question.
Yeah, that's why I think things should be looked at with an open mind, understanding like you don't know, right? So when you think, if somebody thinks they know or thinks they know they're looking for something, that's what they'll see, right? And that's what I mean. If you think if the scientists think and they're studying and they're presenting information and they think they know, there's going to be that's automatically going to happen, automatically, because they're going to, and 100%, that's kind of human nature, where there's obviously a self-fulfilling prophecy where people want to for sure show a certain angle to be able to convince someone else. Absolutely. That's happening all day, every day. So
relating this back to the PR and marketing world, does that happen in marketing as well?
No, absolutely. So like our philosophy mostly at HighKey is like first impression first, like making sure you like look good digitally and physically, and then and mostly digitally, and then afterwards exposure. And when you're painting the message and telling your message, like it should have a certain angle, absolutely, where almost like you are trying to convince someone of something, right? It's convincing someone that like, oh, you shouldn't do this and you should do this, or usually people are solving some sort of problem, and so it's all about just guiding that person to showing them on their own that the problem exists and that you have the solution, really.
How much is it, and pardon my ignorance if I'm not properly educated, but how much of it is in the world of, because you see marketing agencies, you see the world of social media, right? Now you can buy blue check, right? Now you can buy quote unquote status in the world by having followers, by having a large amount of influence, you could say. How much of it is real influence and how much of it is just numbers on a screen?
Well, it's difficult to say because there's so much content on on the internet and like people's social medias. It's hard to give like a specific number. I would say I can tell you how to differentiate from real and fake. So the biggest way to differentiate like someone that's real, obviously we're talking about followers, there's easy ways like engagement, etc.
Yeah.
But the biggest way to tell if someone's actually really doing something, in my opinion, is do they have a lot of consistent press and media attention on them? Like all the significant influential people do, and it's very likely that somebody does and then they're not doing something that matches up with what that press and media says. And that's because press and media and publications, they're really obsessed with like making sure they're accurately representing that person for what they're actually doing in life. And so they won't want to talk about someone if there's something negative about them, or they won't want to talk about someone even if they get a whiff that what they're saying isn't true, let's say about their business.
Yeah.
And so if there is press media attention, it's usually a good telling factor that that person is like credible and that what they do is like what they say they do.
And you're talking about from the person's point of view, not the press, because press will talk about negative stuff all the time, correct?
They'll talk about negative stuff, but that's what I'm saying. If somebody has positive press about them.
Just positive.
Well, yeah, just positive press. Like if they have a ton of negative press saying like they got arrested, like I wouldn't trust that person.
Sure.
Right? Like no matter what, or if there's a negative press talking about their relationship, the most common person will be like, oh, wow, the fact that there's celebrity gossip on their relationship means they're high value, right? And so if there's negative attention on you, it means you're usually high value, aside from the resting type of thing. But I'm saying like relationship gossip or any other type of media attention, it's even if it's a little bit negative, it's usually because you're doing something impactful, right? And so I recommend people don't, if they get that type of attention, negative, get canceled, like don't run from it, don't hide from it. Like put your own message back out there. And like if you can, like there's energy there, harness it. Like harness that energy. Even if you have a ton of hate, there's energy there. Harness it. Don't hide. Don't delete your Instagrams if you get canceled. And that type of, like don't delete your social medias. What you do is make everything more public, start responding more, pushing out more content that you ever did before, and harnessing that energy, because if somebody that hates you, they're actually they're like a second over from loving you.
But in terms of press, that can be manipulated, correct? If, like, for example, if you guys are in the PR space, right? So just for a bit of context, HighKey no longer selling earbuds. That was a long time ago. You guys went to the agency model and did giveaways for a while, and I'm under the impression that is no longer a thing. You guys are still doing a couple
giveaways. Yeah, we just do once every month, once every 2 months. We do higher quality giveaways less frequently.
Yes. Okay, that is what I meant. And now the more emphasis is on the PR side.
Yeah, the focus, not necessarily emphasis. It's just like there's much more scalability in the PR, right? Much more scalability.
And so my question is, if a client comes to you and says, listen, I want this kind of media attention, are you able to deliver on those?
Yeah, it really depends. Really depends on the on like what they want, what the attention to be on, if it's true or not. You can't just do whatever you want, like whatever you want. At least from where we are. In my opinion, there's for sure networks in the upper echelons of like media, especially in Canadian media and United States media, where there's a massive agenda going on that's not accessible by the common people to be able to put in like, their own messages. And so like, for instance, as an example, certain people, they won't even get charged on anything, but like, or so they get charged, let's say, like Andrew Tate, for an example, got charged with something, but it didn't go through, let's say, right? And he just got charged with it. Doesn't mean he's proven innocent or guilty and nothing. And then if there's going to be if somebody wants to write a piece saying how, they helped, let's say Andrew Tate, get a lot of media attention. They helped with the social media. And then they wanted an article to go about how he's like, where it just paints him in a neutral light. Because it's not painting him in a negative light, because that's how most of the media is talking about him, they won't want to put that piece out there, right? And so that's what I mean. You can't go against the agenda. You have to go with the media's agenda in a way, and then you can slightly go in there and tweak it a little bit, but still there's going to be a lot of checks. There's always tons of approvals. So yeah, it's difficult to be able to manipulate the media in terms of like put out straight out false information. It has to be true in some shape or form. You can influence things, absolutely, but manipulate, I would say, not so much.
Okay. And how strategic is the PR world? Because I'm just going to take an example. Like, if an individual wants a certain type of image out there, they can probably amend that a little, how, right? Like be a little more, if they want to cater to left or right or whatever their views they want, however they want to be portrayed, they could probably be a little more lenient towards that side, a little more, maybe it's not their most authentic self, but it's still them, but they try to be a little more whatever they want it to be.
Right.
How strategic is the fact that, okay, I want my name out there, so I'm going to do this, and this. I know media's going to pick it up. I know it's going to get this. I know it's going to get the views.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, boom, my job worked. It's strategic. Is it strategic?
It depends who the individual is, for sure. Some people it's strategic, like some people I'd say it's accidental. Absolutely, right? Like Logan Paul and those guys, like they were very strategic with those types of things back in the day.
Yeah.
And they would strategically get canceled, strategically fight, right?
Yeah,
between other people. So yeah, I would say most of it is strategic, but it's very infrequent that it's accidental.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get, you're from Romania as well. You want to touch on
my
that?
dad. Yeah, my dad is from there. No worries. My dad's from Romania, and yeah, my mom's just from like she's French Canadian. Grew up in a town called Fisher Branch, and yeah, my dad like ran away, I guess, from it was like communist back then, and so he ran away. Couldn't tell his family he was even leaving. Like, he just had to dip out one night, and then got refuge in Italy and stuff, and then moved to France and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting. Romania was never really on the map until Andrew Tate kind of came out on the scene and started flexing that he lived there and stuff. So
yeah, so again, like now I have a question in terms of that's strategic, correct? I would assume. Andrew Tate, we're sitting talking about him right now. He's mentioned all in multiple press and over the internet. That's strategic. He's won the game in terms of
for sure.
Getting people to talk about him, positive or negative, whatever the sense may be, whatever opinion you have of him. That was the goal, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
And would you say?
No, absolutely. Yeah, he is a great case study and example of how all other marketers are trying to do it now. The big thing for him was just the multiple different pages posting his content that nobody really thought of before, where he didn't even have a TikTok account, but he was all over TikTok, right? And so that whole methodology obviously is being utilized now. I see by a lot of different individuals, and there's certain companies that help with that, like HighKey being one of them. So yeah, no, it was definitely strategic, and he did it very, very effectively. It was a very long thought out plan. So I'm actually very well connected to someone on his team, and we've had multiple discussions on that, and I gave them some recommendations actually when they started the war room. So
and so I'm under the impression that HighKey wants the HighKey University. Are you able to touch on that? It's on the website.
Yeah.
It's active in process or about to come out soon. And the idea was that inspired? Was that kind of the world around it? And what's the strategic marketing to get people there?
Yeah, so HighKey University right now at the time is right now it's just like a private university for people that are actually about to become employees at HighKey. That's how it is right now. But in the future, it is going to change where it's kind of like open to the public. So right now, essentially, if someone goes through an interview process, they would get put through HighKeyUniversity.com.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like our onboarding for new employees.
Got it.
With a lot of training material, et cetera, but it will be turned into that in the future. I would say the biggest attention right now in terms of like where we're funneling new marketing efforts in the future will be around a crypto casino that we're starting and stuff. I don't know if Luke told you about that before.
DSO?
No. So DSO is like obviously DSO like social. No, but we're like HighKey, the brothers and some other individuals are starting a crypto casino, kind of like Stake.
Okay. And
they have some very big partners that will be coming over. So that's where like and like I can't talk on it too much.
No, of course.
But there will be some very, very impactful marketing efforts from some really big names that will be like repping the crypto casino.
Are you aware of the influence that is generated by these efforts in terms of positive and negative?
Like the influence on like the people
society, the world, the people that consume your content.
Yeah, and like, do you mean like HighKey's content or like our clients? Because like most of our stuff now is for our clients. Right?
Clients, yes.
Yeah, clients.
Just in the terms of like brand recognition, brand. What's it called? What's the word?
Awareness.
Awareness. Yeah.
Do you mean like have we felt it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we started feeling it within like 2 years of starting, just from like the videos. Like because they got some of the videos went pretty viral, like some people would recognize us, etc. So there was that. But most recently, I guess like we went to the ClickFunnels conference, and so quite a few people recognized like myself from like some of the TikTok ads we're running right now, where I'm in them. So that's kind of where people recognize us. We're running those to a lot of business owners, and then a lot of people obviously recognize Jordan and Jackson when we go out. It depends where we are, right? We're common, like we're not like 6ix9ine level. So I was with 6ix9ine and Steve, and we went to Orlando for the went to Universal Studios, and I was with Steve. We'll do it like Bradley Martin and 6ix9ine, and then Jordan and Luke, and nobody. Like when we were walking in Universal Studios, it's packed, like tons of families and people, and like not nobody, but everybody recognized 6ix9ine. So everybody would be like, holy shit, 6ix9ine, every single person. And then some people, like literally like 5-10% of that would recognize Steve, right? And like people think, oh, Steve is like, you know, pretty popular, but like compared to 6ix9ine even, so there's different levels. Obviously, I would say like, you know, on that walk, nobody recognized us at the time because there was obviously those guys there, but yeah, I would say like we're not that the craziest like level of like A-list celebrity, and even myself, like I said, I'm more kind of behind the scenes, so I don't expect that. I kind of prefer that, but no, I have no doubts that like obviously Jordan, Luke, Jackson will be in 10 years will be more and more recognizable, obviously every single year by just the general population.
No, I 100% respect everything you guys are doing. You guys have built a empire, and you guys are going to continue to build an empire to the world. You know, I follow Luke's content, and you know, had a couple conversations with him as well. But like, yeah, like I 100% commend what you guys are doing, and I appreciate like one sort of final question maybe is in terms of yourself, in terms of what your goals are. You mentioned at the beginning you're more behind the scenes. You know, you're working on maybe the website, the marketing. What is kind of your aspirations? Do you want to be something that's more in front of the camera? Do you want to see something behind? Do you want to be building more? What are your aspirations?
Yeah, so I have one ultimate goal, and it was all incepted with like the start of HighKey. Like HighKey was the very first, I guess, like seed for this goal. I don't necessarily want to say it on here, but my ultimate goal is it's always going to be kind of behind the scenes, mostly, because like orchestrating something for the most impact, you need multiple people like voicing your message or whatever you want, right? And so I have a big goal that I want to accomplish before, like, obviously my time ends here. But it's going to be something that eventually hopefully gets like not executed but finished, and like it works and it happens like close to the end of my life, and it completely surpasses anything monetary and materialistic. It's really more about this realm that I truly think we're in a battle of good and evil every single day, and that every single day there's extreme works of evil happening, like extreme amounts of evil things, like unspeakable things that occur in this world that are occult, meaning they're not seen to most people. And unless there's an equal and opposite force of good attacking that and trying to do the opposite, that will prevail. And the thing is, evil works day and night almost, like it's happening, right? Because it's you know, the world is fueled by materialistic things, right? And so you can't just chase money and wealth. You'll go down the most negative path. You'll literally go down evil. And so what I want to accomplish is going to be something that is a massive, I guess, blow back to the evil in the world. And I can't explain too much. Obviously, I can't jinx it, etc. So
okay. We usually like to end off the pod with, you know, a question to the audience, or a piece of advice that you'd give to the audience. You know, you started on, like, just to recap a little, you know, starting in university, not really understanding the world, and then all of a sudden opening your eyes to a world that you may have not known that you already existed around you, and now you're in this position that you are now, and you continue to flourish. What is one piece of advice you'd give someone who is at the beginning? What one piece you'd give yourself? If you were in that position right now, you could talk to your younger self, what would you give yourself?
Yeah, I would say consistently, like, network. Always, like, consistently network, meaning like if you have an opportunity to shake a hand and meet someone, do that and go up to as many people as you can, honestly. Like if you're at like a fun game would be like if you're at a conference or an assembly, or like even at a party, like go up to every single person, shake their hand, introduce yourself, get their contact information. Literally do that every single day as much as you can.
Yeah.
Over time, it builds up and more people learn about you. And then I would say, think about your first impression early digitally. So your first and last name, what is that? If someone Googles you, those types of things, you want to be able to control that as soon as you can. Make yourself look and appear credible as early as possible before you do anything else. And then lastly, don't always just take, don't take. I would say 70% take, 30% give. It's been found to be like a strong number so that you also succeed, but then you help the world around you. And yeah, I would say, and seek out mentors. You kind of have to attract mentors, because a mentor is someone that's free, that helps you, that's a little bit older, that's gone through it. And a coach is someone you pay, right? So try to position yourself to attract a mentor as early as possible, and then grow your mentor, and then find another mentor and continue that path as early as possible. Something I didn't do, I wish I did earlier. And you can also be a mentee. I'll also say in that 30% of giving, give your time to help the younger generation, give them advice. And yeah, if you're on the path of good, the world will reward you. So,
Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you so much for coming.
no problem, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron, be sure to check him out in the description. Like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.